Historically, if you look at the development of China as a whole, small, medium enterprises have played a critical role in the development of the country. So all of the large enterprises that we're seeing today started off either as state-owned enterprises or small enterprises that grew rapidly. The challenge for these organizations right now is access to capital. Most of the state-owned banks tend to lend to other state-owned enterprises, large companies in China, because they've traditionally been less risky, which leaves these small, medium enterprises starved of capital. These small, medium enterprises have needed to get their funding from somewhere, and oftentimes they've relied on shadow lending. These shadow lending products are then bundled together and sold as wealth management products to Chinese investors. So one of the challenges is these products are not very transparent. The second challenge is they don't really fall under regulation because they're not a banking product. They're an off-balance sheet product. So shadow lending has increasingly become an issue within the Chinese economy, yet it's critical for the functioning of the economy because without this, a lot of the small and medium enterprises that form this bedrock of the Chinese economy wouldn't be able to get access to funding through the traditional banks. So if you look at peer-to-peer lending in China, peer-to-peer lending in an informal form has been there for decades, if not centuries, in China, like lending in any other market. Online peer-to-peer lending has only really been around since 2009, 2010. And then over the past couple of years, kind of in sync with what's happened in the West, peer-to-peer lending has grown rapidly. The interesting thing about the peer-to-peer lending market in China as opposed to other markets is it tends to be more consumer to business. So a lot of the loans that you see and a lot of the borrowing that's happening is more people looking to start businesses or looking to fund businesses. Whereas if you look at peer-to-peer lending in the States, it's paying off credit card debt or paying off mortgage debt. So that's a unique difference in the two markets, and that is an indication of kind of where that funding is going, again, to the small and medium enterprises. So that helps alleviate a little bit of the pressure on the shadow lending industry because, again, it brings a little bit more transparency to these because they're going onto the peer-to-peer lending platforms. I think the biggest trend and the biggest disruption to the financial industry in China right now is how technology companies are getting involved. If you look, Baidu has financial products that they've partnered with some asset management companies in China that are based on big data. Alibaba has Alipay and has yue'bao, the money market platform. Tencent has WeChat and the payments platform that's built in the back of WeChat. In no other market around the world have technology companies gotten as deep, as quickly into the financial industry as they have in China. In addition to that, what we're going to see over the course of 2015 is the private banks. So WeBank, which is Tencent's bank, has already launched in limited areas around China, and that's China's first private bank. So essentially that's completely privately owned and not owned by state enterprises. Alibaba and other technology players are coming to market later this year and early next year with their versions of the private bank. This is going to completely change the banking industry in China because these are the companies that are innovating. We've already seen how WeChat has taken over communications, using for chat, using for payments, booking taxis. Now they're going to extend that into banking. I think this year and next year will be some of the most exciting years in banking in China for a long time. I think it's a very challenging market for any foreign entrants. I mean, we've seen PayPal try to come into the market a couple of times unsuccessfully. The challenge for these entrants is a couple-fold. First of all, there's regulations in place that prevent them from setting up a company without being completely local. Second of all, if you look at the business model that Alipay and Tencent and WeChat have, it's designed for the Chinese consumer. So it's based off the experience of servicing a potential 1.5 billion customers. PayPal, on the other hand, is a US company that very rapidly needed to expand. They started off in the US, and at the time the population was maybe 250 million. So to get to the next million, the next 10 million, the next 50 million, they had to expand internationally. And to do that effectively and cost effectively, they need to have a standardized platform. So that works if you're working kind of in similar markets. If you've got products in the US, if you've got products in the UK, if you've got products in Australia, they're English-speaking countries, they all kind of have the same descent. So the attitudes and the behaviors of these consumers are very similar. China is a completely different story. Companies like Tencent and Alibaba have had the opportunity to work with the Chinese consumers for over a decade to really understand what they're looking for. So not only is there the regulatory push that's keeping some of these foreign companies out, it's consumer habits and needs, because these companies have already been there giving the Chinese consumers what they're looking for.